to address synthetic drugs, and I have a few administrative announcements before we begin our session today. I'd like to begin by discussing three sectors, the first being civil society and our upcoming events for engaging that sector. We have one event coming up, a Global Coalition Civil Society Forum. This will be hosted by the Vienna NGO Committee in collaboration with the New York NGO Committee, taking place on the 1st of February in two sessions from 9 to 11 and from 4 to 6 in the evening. This is Central European time. Coalition governments are welcomed, they're encouraged to attend and to listen to civil society organizations as they share their thoughts on our working groups. Secondly, we have Global Coalition National Dialogues, which will take place between governments and civil society. These will take place on the 24th of, we're going to have ours, the United States, on the 24th of January. It will be hosted by the White House, Office of National Drug Control Policy, and it will be open to civil society organizations from the United States. We have shared with them background on the coalition's work, and we are inviting them to deliver statements and views. This session will be recorded and posted on the website. Likewise, we would like to invite all of you colleagues to host your own meetings with your own civil society organizations from your countries to discuss the Global Coalition and synthetic drug threats. And you would organize those on your own and share with us either a recording or a written summary as you wish. Finally, the Vienna NGO Committee has also committed to collect feedback directly from civil society organizations and collect the recommendations. And once we receive this information, we will also make this available to you through our website. So this is the first sector, civil society. The second sector are the universities. And there's an organization I'd like to bring to your attention. It's called ICU DDR, the International Consortium of Universities for Drug Demand Reduction. It was established in 2016 with funding from INL. There's over 422 universities from around the world that participate in this consortium. ICU DDR will convene universities from around the world to reflect on the challenges of synthetic drugs and provide us with their research, policy ideas, and program recommendations. The discussions will focus on all three working group themes, and they have proposed three activities. First, between the months of February and March, they will conduct regional focus groups. These will be virtual meetings in 6 regions: Africa, Asia and the Pacific, Europe, Latin America and the Caribbean, the Middle East, the US and Canada. And the idea will be to document recommendations and prepare a report for governments. Second, they will host 6 regional virtual meetings with universities and governments to discuss recommendations and incorporate views from government representatives in terms of what is discussed. And so the deliverable there will be a report for coalition members, for all of you, and this activity will take place between April to June. And finally, in June, ICUDR will convene an inventory, will conduct an inventory of different university initiatives that can support the Global Coalition's work, and they will document those initiatives on the website. That is the second sector. The third sector is the private sector, and we are developing an engagement plan that we will present in next month's meeting to all of you. Now, I also want to share information about a new communication feature on our website that will allow you to share content with each other. It's similar to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to YouTube, where you can type in a comment, post a video, post a document, and you can share and write sort of messages, reply, ask questions, and have a conversation back and forth with those that are posting. It will go live in February, and it will require account activation from all of you as coalition participants. So in the coming weeks, you're going to receive an email that will invite you to create an account and begin posting content. And so we welcome you to do that and to share your recommendations for the coalition, as well as post news and share experiences. This is a key way, an important way for you to document and share the recommendations that you have for the coalition moving forward. Now, I want to end today by describing the initiatives and pledges, explaining a little bit of our program, of our work over the next few months. Between the months of December and January, we have received over 100 initiatives from international organizations. These are concrete activities where we can engage. We are now in the process of posting this menu of initiatives on the coalition website in a new tab that we are creating where you can see all of these initiatives in greater detail. What does this look like? Let me show you what the menu of one of these will look like. We will have the name of the initiative or project. We'll have the description explaining what it is. We will provide background information in terms of documents and videos and so forth. We will provide the accomplishments that have been achieved to date, along with programmatic activities, different steps in undertaking this project. We will also have outcomes at the global and national levels. We will have the names of the countries that are currently participating in this initiative and the point of contact that is responsible for engagement on this activity. And if you would like to participate, you can also contact that person. So it will be a wonderful library, a collection of a great contribution of initiatives that we have from over 11 international organizations around the world in this area. Let me go further to say that in the month of February, we will continue posting these initiatives on the coalition website, and that this will be updated regularly and expanded. Then between February and March, coalition participants, that's all of you, will be identifying which initiatives are of interest, and you will express interest directly to the email addresses that are provided, saying, my country is interested in this activity or that activity under this, sub-working group 1.2, for example. Then in March, many of us will be at the Commission on Narcotic Drugs in Vienna. So that will provide further opportunity to discuss these initiatives and to develop those commitments, that list of interest. And then between April and July, we will begin implementation of these initiatives. These initiatives will run for many years, but we will begin the activities in April and July. Now, having said this, I want to conclude with another sort of layer of work, and that is that of developing recommendations for our coalition's work. During the months of December and January, we have been reviewing the topics that have taken place in our past meetings and those that are left for January and February. Based on that, we are creating a draft list of recommendations for the coalition's work. We will be sharing that list of recommendations during the month of February with all of the co-chairs, and we will also post it on the website so all of you can review those and reflect and hold consultations domestically within your national agencies to discuss. Then between February and March, we are going to have the working group meetings where the sub-working group co-chairs will report to the working group co-chairs on what work has been accomplished to date, and also to present and discuss the recommendations where you will all have an opportunity to provide feedback. In addition to, as I mentioned, your opportunity to post on the website itself, your recommendations. And then finally, in the month of March, the recommendations will be posted on our website, and we will continue to welcome further input from all of you participants. So that is it for me for today. I know that was a lot of information. If you missed anything, you can hang on 55 minutes and I will repeat this all again at the next opening session. So now I would like to turn it over to our colleagues Mason Smith and Anthony Conway to moderate today's session. Over to you, friends. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, colleagues from Fiji. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. This afternoon, I have with me my colleague, Mr. Chochi, who is the Director of Policy with the Ministry of Home Affairs and Immigration. And he'll be taking over shortly for this session as I need to leave. But just to let everyone know that as you may have read in the media, Fiji has had a recent drug bust in the Western Division of meth, and currently the police are investigating the drug bust. Hopefully we'll be able to provide you with some information on where the drugs came from, who were involved, and what we need to do. But I think as we were talking with our colleagues from New Zealand, Fiji will be interested in looking at some of the drug identification machines to help us in this war against drugs, and some of the gasification plants that we may need to destroy the meth that we've found in the western part of the Fiji group. In addition to that, Fiji's continued to be interested in the regional meeting that we discussed last year, and I'm sure someone can provide an update on the Colombo plan to bring us together to discuss some of the more interesting aspects of our work. So with that, Happy New Year, everyone. I'll be on listening watch, and I now hand it over to Anthony and my colleague, Chochi. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mason. And again, yes, Happy New Year from me in Australia to all the Sub-Working Group 1.2 participants and presenters today, and a warm welcome to the fourth Working Group meeting. Focus of Working Group 1.2 has been the trafficking of synthetic drugs, with the ultimate goal of building participant jurisdiction capability to counter the trafficking of synthetic drugs within our countries, across shared borders and around the globe. On the 18th of December, the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 78-131 without a vote. And I had an opportunity to read that resolution this morning. And in summary, the resolution recognises the significant challenges posed by the illicit manufacture of and trafficking in synthetic drugs and the serious threat they pose to public health and security and to the well-being of humanity. Further, the resolution identifies that the threat remains a common and shared responsibility that should be addressed through effective and increased international cooperation. And lastly, and the key point for us today, is the resolution recognises that civil society, the scientific community and academia play an important role in addressing the threat, and that cooperation with the private sector is critical. So to me, that says that what Brian and his team are leading through this global coalition is extremely important. And I thank Brian and his team for the work they've done to date and taking on what appears to be a significant workload with the timetable just described in relation to progressing the initiatives and drafting recommendations over the coming months. Today, we've got some presentations around the Global Cybercrime Program, initiatives around canine drug detection, and the Postal Synthetic Drug Detection Project. For me, the key theme of all these presentations around the rise and use of cryptocurrency and the darknet online marketplaces, which we've seen a global rise in the use of the international mail system to traffic synthetic drugs around the world. So I'm very much looking forward to all these presentations, and at the conclusion, it'll be really great for the participant jurisdictions to engage in some conversations in how they're looking to engage with the private sector to deal with issues of cyber-enabled crime and the international mail stream with regard to the trafficking of synthetic drugs. So I'll hand over to our first presenter, Himal Ojar from the Cybercrime Program within the UN ODC Regional Office of Southeast Asia and the Pacific, to deliver their presentation on a global cybercrime program. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Anthony. Just to double check, can you hear me clear?
Please go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good morning, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me to be speaking today. My name is Himal Ojar. I work as a crime prevention and criminal justice officer, focusing on the area of cybercrime digital forensics for the UN Office on Drugs and Crime Global Program on Cybercrime. The global program on cybercrime is basically promotes a long-term sustainable capacity building to prevent and counter cybercrime through supporting national structures. I would also like to extend my welcome thanks to the State Department, INL, for providing us with an opportunity I'm very much aware that I only have very few minutes, so please allow me to get started. And in order to save some bandwidth, I will be turning off my camera. Next slide, please. Please allow me to briefly highlight the project Disrupting and Seizing Cyber Assets used in the online trafficking of synthetic drugs, including synthetic opioids and their precursors, which looks at a very comprehensive way of tackling challenges posed by non-traditional drug trafficking methods and routes. The project itself, which is being overseen by the Global Program on Cybercrime in collaboration with the UNODC Opioid Strategy, is divided into 3 phases covering 12 countries from South Asia, Southeast Asia, Pacific, and Latin America. The project covers different areas that the Global Program on Cybercrime works on, from technical capacity building to research and threat analysis, early warning system, to the development of cybercrime modules on UN toolkit on synthetic drugs. Very specific to the Latin America and the Caribbean region, using the first-hand research by scraping off the darknet, social media and other sources, plus conversations with law enforcement agencies in the region. A threats assessment study and report was conducted to provide the international community with a more accurate picture of the threat of online trafficking, as well as use of cryptocurrencies for trafficking of synthetic drugs. The threat assessment report was published in both English and Spanish, and it is available in the UNODC website. Regarding the methodology, a set of filters were created for substances, markets, language, and geography. Keyword, hashtag, and emoji-based indicators were used to access and analyze darknet market forums and social media platforms. The work was further informed by extensive desktop research, which included a careful review of research reports, policy and regulation documents, court decisions, and media articles. The next step as part of the project was basically the early warning system, which includes the development of a new component to the UNODC early warnings to monitor and track newly emerging substances on the darknet. The warning system uses crawlers, keywords list with slangs, and drug identification names to identify the demand and supply of synthetic drugs to determine needs. Moving on to the capacity building, please allow me, previous slide, please. Thank you. Please allow me to explain the capacity, next slide, please. Thank you. Please allow me to explain the capacity building effort which the Global Program on Cybercrime is currently working on in building the capacity of drug investigation teams and cybercrime investigation teams on addressing cyber-enabled crime and the use of virtual assets for the trafficking of synthetic drugs through the ClearNet and Darknet. This has been targeted in over 12 countries with a training of over 300 plus law enforcement officers as well as prosecutors with an enhanced capacity of the targeted countries to identify, trace, disrupt trafficking of synthetic drugs. Participants were both from anti-narcotics agencies, cybercrime agencies, but also prosecutors, and they were basically trained on examining the use of cryptocurrencies for illegal purposes, analyze blockchain, examine wallets and transactions using different open source tools and techniques, but as well as commercial tools with different visualization systems based on real world scenarios. As part of that, we also have hosted a global partnership event bringing in the private sector as well as the public sector for enhanced cooperation. Next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. Thank you. Please allow me to elaborate the online trafficking in Asia. Regarding the situation of online trafficking of synthetic drugs in Asia, I would like to start by highlighting that the market for drugs and opioids has changed and become more digitized than ever. It has led to a new shift in the way the drugs are moved around the world, ushering a new standard for this illicit industry. the dynamics of how organized crime groups traffic synthetic drugs and synthetic opioids have begun to shift. There has been sustained growth in online drug trafficking. Drugs are often sold on the clear net as well as on the dark net, and it can be seen that the traditional actors have been evolving, adapting their business model. Cryptocurrencies still are one of the most preferred payments due to its decentralized nature, meaning no server nor a specific actor responsible to the system. Secondly, because of its pseudo-anonymity nature, which means that although there is a public ledger of transactions, it only contains account numbers or so-called addresses. Thirdly, the system consists of a large network of small dealers, ATMs, and exchange providers, where cryptocurrencies can be exchanged to and from usual fiat currency. The use of such online platforms have expanded and diversified over the past 5 years. The platforms, whether it's on the clear net or in the dark net, have provided criminal organizations to have an easy reach for customers, advertise and distinguish their business and build trust among the buyers, and professionalize the drug selling business through advertising the products with detailed description. Next slide, please. Thank you. Moving forward, a way forward, the online trafficking of synthetic drugs is complex, transnational process involving buyers, suppliers, and most importantly, servers in different jurisdictions. Effective counteraction requires cooperation with national law enforcement agencies and also between member states. Building a network of competent actors with diverse perspective is crucial for detecting, investigating, and deterring online trafficking. Regular threat analysis is necessary for swift responses across all government levels. There is a need to increase political, policy, and operational knowledge regarding the new technologies, open source intelligence, social media, virtual assets, and intelligence gathering and sharing among member states. Enhancing cooperation at a national, regional, and international levels between anti-drug agencies and cybercrime units is essential. Developing local capabilities in the public, private, and academic sector is important for researching the use of new and emerging technologies for illicit use. It definitely takes a network to defeat a network, and I think the forum like this is very important, where we need to come up with a solution for a comprehensive, adaptable approach to address this dynamic nature of online drug trafficking and synthetic drugs. Next slide. I think I see a couple of chats where I'm not sure if you can still hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. It is on the low side, but this meeting is being recorded, so participants will be able to listen to the recording with improved audio quality.
Thank you. Sorry, my apologies, but just to wrap up, so we've been seeing a very high increase in the use of clear-net marketplaces as well as darknet marketplaces in the use of in the trafficking of synthetic drugs happening in Southeast Asia, Asia, and the Pacific. And I'm very happy to take any questions if there may be, but thank you very much. And once again, apologies for the technical errors that happened during the session.
Kamal, thanks very much for your presentation. I'll open it up to the rest of the group. If you want to just use the hand emoji if you've got a question for Kamal. We've probably got about 5 minutes for some question and answers in relation to this topic. Kamal, from me, I'm really interested to hear from your perspective the advances in dealing with the encryption that's afforded by the darknet, and whether or not that sort of cloak of anonymity provided by the darknet can be penetrated by law enforcement, or whether there's capability available to jurisdictions to try and identify the people running these darknet marketplaces.
Right. Thank you very much. Just to double check, can you hear me loud and clear?
We can hear you. It's on the low side, but we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for your question. It's a very interesting question. Yes, there are challenges regarding encryption and darknet methodology, but I don't think I would be able to comment if any tools are available as of now to get into breaking those kind of encryption. But definitely with the use of open source, you combining traditional investigative methodologies together with the new technologies, and of course, in collaboration with international community, private sector, and other law enforcement, it is definitely possible to bring darknet marketplaces down. We have seen a couple of major darknet marketplaces which were taken down by a collaborative effort between different law enforcement agencies. So I understand it's difficult, but it is not impossible as long as we all cooperate and work with each other. Thank you.
Thanks, Himal. If there aren't any more questions, we'll move on to our second presentation for today. And I'd like to introduce Greg Dowse, who is a superintendent with Australia Border Force, and he works within the Detector Dog program, and he's going to give us a presentation today on the Initiative Canine Drug Detection Program. Thanks very much, Greg.
Thanks, Anthony. Can you hear me?
Please
Yes.
go ahead.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Good afternoon from Melbourne, Australia. As introduced, my name's Greg Dowse, and I'm the Superintendent of the Australian Border Force Detector Dog program, which supports the Australian Border Force and other law enforcement agencies through its breeding and development program, Detector Dog and Handler Training, and operational deployment of detector dogs across multiple domains. It's a pleasure to present today, and I'd like to acknowledge the United States-led Global Coalition to Address Synthetic Drug Threats Initiative. And work being done in response to these threats. Next slide, please. So if you go to the next slide. Thank you. During this presentation, I will be discussing the importance of customs administrations in facilitating legitimate trade and detecting imported or exported prohibited and regulated goods, the role of customs detector dog programs play in supporting the protection of their country's borders, an overview of the Canine Synthetic Drug Detection Project, and if there's time at the end, I'm happy to take any questions. Next slide, please. Customs administrations play a very important role in facilitating the legitimate movement of people and goods across its borders. The collection of revenue.
And Greg, my apologies, your sound is cutting out. It seems to be a slow internet connection. I don't think we're going to be able to fix it, but if you can speak closer to the microphone, that would be great.
Importation or exportation. Customs officers carry out controls in entry and exit.
And Greg, if you can hear me. And Greg, my apologies, this is the technical moderator. It looks like your sound is cutting in and out. We are not able to hear you for long periods of time. It's probably your internet connection. And if you could try speak closer to the microphone, we'll see if that helps. But I suspect the problem is with the connection.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
It's still breaking up, unfortunately.
I can. Can you hear me better now?
No, it's still breaking up. And my recommendation, if that continues, would be to ask Greg to record his presentation and share that as a video file later.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Greg, we apologize. Thank you so much for being here. I know we tested it before we came in earlier today. I apologize, but Em and I will be in contact later to work on a recording so that we can make sure that the program is represented on the website. I apologize. In the meantime, Anthony, I think we may want to introduce the next presentation, unfortunately.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I understand that the next presentation is a recording, and that presentation is on Postal Synthetic Drug Detection Project through the World Customs Organization, and the presenter is Astrid Heiter from the World Customs Organization. Over to you, Sarah. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. And I'll pass it to Cyril to bring up the recording. Thank you.
Greetings from Brussels to everyone joining this presentation today. My name is Astrid Heiter. I work with the WCO Drugs and Precursors program, and I'm a German customs officer originally. And today I'm pleased to have the opportunity to connect with you and to raise awareness about a very special project, the SDDP-MC, which stands for Synthetic Drugs Detection Project, and especially the Mail Channel Initiative. So what is the situation we are dealing with? Illicitly manufactured synthetic drugs such as fentanyl, tramadol, methamphetamine, captagon, and many others pose a significant threat to global health security and well-being. Addressing this issue requires a collective action. No single country can tackle this issue alone. Therefore, as a law enforcement community, we must deepen our cooperation with other stakeholders. We have to strengthen our network and share information, and this way respond to new and emerging drug threats. The drug problem is transnational. It's global, and therefore it requires collaborative efforts to tackle it. Recognizing this alarming trend and severe threats posed by synthetic drugs, the World Customs Organization, in collaboration with the Bureau of International Narcotic Law and Enforcement Affairs, INL, of the US Department of State, has devised an action plan to holistically address the illegal trafficking of synthetic drugs. In view of this action plan devises initiatives to support and reinforce customs action targeting on synthetic drugs in these two conveyance channels, and to enhance the synthetic drugs detection capability of customs by strengthening their canine forces. So we have to do something against the synthetic drug threat. But why does addressing this threat requires a focus on the mail channel? The growth of e-commerce presents challenges, with shipments carrying health, safety and economic security risks like containerized shipments. Due to the complex and dynamic nature of the industry, e-commerce shipments lack full visibility into the supply chain. Risk assessment for low-value e-commerce shipments, especially postal items, is often manual, resource-intensive, and it happens in real time at the border. In addition to that, the sheer volume of small packages makes it challenging to identify and interdict those presenting high risk. Additionally, vague and inaccurate electronic data from certain trade entities pose a significant challenge in targeting shipments, especially since the pandemic. We have observed a strong trend. Illicit drug trafficking through the mail channel has surged and is on the rise. This trend shows that the mail channel is vulnerable to be abused by drug traffickers, and this has serious implications. First, the well-developed postal network facilitates extensive distribution of drugs worldwide, bypassing the need for dealers and wholesalers. This results in an overwhelming number of sources constantly replenishing drug supplies worldwide at any time and from anywhere. Second, this efficient distribution network allows drugs to quickly penetrate countries and populations. The ease of online platforms and mail channels make drug purchase a few clicks away, rendering people of all ages, classes, and backgrounds vulnerable to drug abuse. Lastly, drug traffickers exploiting mail channels not only pose a retail-level crime, but also disrupt legitimate parcel deliveries, impeding e-commerce growth and incurring delays and additional costs. Thus, this issue of drugs in mail channel extends beyond retail crime, impacting the overall security and well-being of entire countries. So these are the reasons, simply the reasons why we must act and fight drugs in the mail channel. The World Customs Organization, the Universal Postal Union, and the International Narcotics Control Board are joining the effort in deterring synthetic drugs trafficking in the mail channel. Customs have the expertise in contraband detection. UPU is proficient in postal logistical operations, and INCB possesses extensive knowledge of synthetic drugs and their characteristics. Leveraging the expertise and profession of these three parties will not only strengthen the capability of frontline officers in detecting and deterring synthetic drugs in the mail channels, but will also foster and increase cooperation between customs and postal operators. This initiative will be implemented in phases, with the initial focus on the Asia-Pacific region, where the emergence of new synthetic drugs is on the rise. So what do we have foreseen in the framework of the Mail Channel Initiative? Each phase will be started from an assessment on potential beneficiary members. The objective is to identify vulnerabilities and threats in their mail channel and understand the legal and institutional framework for controlling synthetic drugs. The assessment and selection process involves both virtual and in-person components. So we have already initiated the virtual assessment by sending out a survey to all WCO members in the Asia-Pacific region. And I'm happy to report that we have received great feedback from our members. Almost 70% of the members in the region took part in our survey, which is really impressive, especially since this was a voluntary survey. So this shows that our members are interested in the topic, and it highlights the importance the topic has to them. So this clearly indicates also the significance of the whole Mail Channel Initiative. And we are currently evaluating and analyzing the results, which will give us a good overview of the situation in the region when it comes to drug controls in the mail channel, and also information on the type of data which is provided by the postal side. And we will soon start performing the scoping missions in the eligible countries. Following the survey and the scoping missions, we will conduct a capacity building program for selected beneficiary countries and others in the regions. So experts from WCO, UPU, INCB, and other drug enforcement agencies will deliver tailor-made training in the workshops. And the project also has been receiving substantial support from the WCO regional training centers, the RTC Thailand and the RTC Indonesia. Both RTCs are assisting us in organizing logistics and ensuring a secure environment for our workshops by generously offering their facilities. Additionally, I'm pleased to share that we have secured the backing of both the RILO Asia Pacific, so that means the Regional Intelligence Liaison Office, and the Asia Pacific Regional Office for Capacity Building of the WCO, which is located in Bangkok. This collaborative support significantly strengthens our project's foundations and ensures its success. So, looking at the workshops, a special feature of these workshops will be that the target participants include both customs and postal operators to facilitate a better understanding and fostering effective cooperation. The overall goal is to enhance capacities for identifying and detecting the trafficking of drugs, especially synthetic drugs, in the mail channel. Additionally, we aim to provide information on instruments, tools, and standards of the WCO, UPU, and INCB while sharing best practices. The focus will be on the identification of synthetic drugs and their components, as well as targeted analysis of synthetic drugs in the mail channel. With the knowledge and techniques acquired in the 2 regional workshops, a regional or multi-regional enforcement operation targeting illicit drugs in the mail channel will be jointly organized by WCO, UPU, and INCB. This operation will involve the participation of customs administrations, designated postal operators in the region, and the related Regional Intelligence Liaison Office, the RILO. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that it takes a network to fight a network, and therefore, in collaboration with INCB and UPU, let's actively foster cooperation and fortify our network in the fight against synthetic drug trafficking. Together, we have the power to make significant impact to tackle synthetic drugs in the mail channel and create a safer and healthier future. With this being said, I thank you for listening, and we have come to the end of my presentation. And if you have any further questions or need additional information, please feel free to reach out to me via my email, which you can see on the slide, or also the project email, and I'm here to assist you. Thank you.